That's what the Bitterroot Climate Action Group is. It's a nonpartisan network of folks who care and are trying to see what's going on and what can we do.
I'm really excited to gather in community and to have conversations about what's going on in our community and how we can pull together to make this a place that's very resilient and very sustainable in so many different ways. So I came to be a part of the conversation and to really hear other people's thoughts.
Me going to this forum was an opportunity to listen to the experts and learn a little bit more about climate change and things that we can do.
It's absolutely important to normalize having these conversations. It's happening around us. We have to come together, whether you are a land manager or a fishing guide or a bank teller or whatever it is. You live in this valley and need to understand what's going on, and talking about it openly is hugely important.
So we started out with a great discussion and presentation about facts and figures and knowledge from Dr. Bruce Maxwell that really laid the groundwork for understanding what are the trends that are happening.
Winter months, the minimum daily temperature has definitely increased. Warm winter, what does that mean for us? Well, warmer winters is probably one of the things driving pine beetle attacks. We get winter annual weeds that increase, like cheatgrass. It gets too hot earlier now so that we don't get good pollination. If you don't sleep at night because it's too warm, there's a ton of disease situations that start to creep in, especially mental health kinds of factors. And most ranchers will tell you that the livestock don't gain weight well. They need cooler temperatures at night.
Then we were able to break into small groups to talk about what's really important to us. What do we see as some solutions or ideas? What do we see as some of the main issue areas?
That's one of the things that I would really encourage, is bringing in soil science and increasing that awareness in the community.
The breakout groups have been great because we've got a wide variety of people with different interests and different backgrounds and different experience.
Getting those partners involved, getting the Forest Service involved, getting the state involved, getting the city and the county involved, then you find out what they can and can't do. Creating those partnerships, that's how you attack these bigger problems.
We're irrigating a lot more on our ranch. It seems like we're starting earlier and ending later. So we're putting more water on our crops, but it sounded like Dr. Maxwell was talking about maybe get more water back into the streams and the river. So I'm not sure how those balance out. I'm willing to listen and learn and hopefully make some changes for the better.
One of the primary issues that I'm seeing in the community is just the change in water use, the move from agricultural to consumer and residential, the significant increase in the number of people that are using the water as well.
How important it is to manage water in a serious way with data and measurements, and knowing who's using water and who isn't. And this will have to be a revisit of some of the water rights legislation, which will be a hell of a fight.
I think it was surprising and exciting that so many people wanted to talk about water. And to me, it just speaks to the importance of the Bitterroot River as the moving force, the life force in our valley.
Beaver mimicry, there's a lot of information on it out there that'll keep creeks running longer and keep more water here in the valley. Also, better growth on trees so we get more carbon sequestration. So I think beavers are the biggest thing that we can do to mitigate climate change.
Our forests across the west have been experiencing a 20-plus year drought. And with that, we are seeing the increase in insects and disease. The primary insects are like mountain pine beetle, Douglas fir beetle, but we are seeing an increase in secondary insects which are present in our ecosystems, but historically haven't really been known to cause mortality, and they're causing a lot more damage and mortality now.
One thing that Dr. Maxwell talked about was, keeping agriculture, farming, and the beef industry a little more local. And instead of sending cattle to feedlots in Nebraska or somewhere,
we've got to figure out how to market our animals more locally, finish them here, finishing them on grass, admitting to a lower weight animal, but you can make up some difference because of the transportation costs. We can do more local processing, but we got to learn how to do it and not destroy our system.
I'm not going to see a lot of what's coming, but that the people who are younger and who are growing up here now might have a beautiful valley and really have something they want to protect and are willing to look at the latest information and do the best that can be done.
We have a lot of young first grade, kindergarten, third graders that come to our farm, and they want to know, they want to stay connected with their food and the environment. And so I think there's an explosion of potential with young people right now that's really exciting.
Reaching out to some stakeholder groups that maybe are not the expected ones. Let's put out a pamphlet, let's put some brochures around. If we could do some little granular things like that, that begin to help people perceive themselves as part of the solution rather than this giant, complex, multifactorial problem that's too big for any of us to solve, might get momentum.
The Valley is a very special place. It looks like picture postcards. It's now starting to look like a very inhabited picture postcard. Some of our problems and issues, climate-related, really relate to the fact that we've more than doubled our population in the last 20 years.
I see this Bitterroot Valley, it's changed a lot. My concerns are that it's changing to the point and prices are getting to the point where it's getting more and more difficult for people in normal jobs to buy a home and to live here and to raise a family here.
It's impacting our growing food because we're growing houses. I don't have an answer, but I think it needs to be front and center and openly addressed.
Our valley's changing, we all see it, we see the people coming in. If we have a long-term plan, then that kind of also helps us all know where we're going.
So one of the big things is figuring out how much water we have, how much is available, factor in growth. How are we going to grow? Is it sustainable? Do we really want developers coming in and buying up 250 acres because they know those acres have the most water rights in the valley? And what are those developers going to do with those water rights?
We had a nice panel discussion where there was an opportunity for some differing opinions and understandings to be surfaced, and for some experts in our community to be able to share what they might see as important things for us as a community to work on.
To me, that it hasn't been discussed is fire and smoke. And we all know now that smoke is bad for you in ways we did not really understand 40 years ago. That's going to be an increasingly front issue, especially for children and elders.
Can very well tolerate temperatures above 65. What do we do about all of that? We conduct a thing called Trout in the Classrooms. We're really pleased to let you know that the teachers in Valley County are incredibly responsive to that. The second thing we can do is begin reconnecting streams to the valley. Streams are cut off from their flow, which means the cold water from some of the tributaries doesn't make it to the river. And there's work going on both on the part of Trout Unlimited and the Bitterroot Water Partnership.
The thinning that is happening out there often is helping us increase the resilience of our forests to these wildfires so that we don't end up with fires that burn super hot over large landscapes like we saw in 2000.
The effectiveness of the thinning in regards to the fire only lasts for maybe 10 years or so. I think that's a major factor that limits the effectiveness of thinning on controlling these wildfires.
I heard conversations where people obviously didn't have the same opinion, which I think is fantastic. And to me, that is the most important maybe outcome I saw today was there was differing opinions that were all towards the same end goal, but not coming from the same knowledge base. And I'm proud that this group was able to bring together some different viewpoints.
Just the fact that we're having these conversations and understanding that there are things we can do, particularly in how we live and manage our resources here in the Valley, that can have a direct impact on improving climate.
Today, there were a few things that I didn't necessarily agree with, but I certainly don't hold myself out as any kind of scientist or expert on climate change, but I think that I did learn a lot. I'm happy to pass along those things that I learned to friends and family. As ranchers or agriculturists, we have a responsibility to leave the land as good or better than we received it, and if more ag producers can get involved, that will be helpful overall for all of Montana and the Bitterroot Valley for sure.
A resilient community looks like people that can come together from all walks of life, all interests, and have those tough conversations and talk about their values and some action steps that we can take on as a community to move forward so that we have a vibrant community here to look forward to in the future.
There was a lot of different people here, a lot of different ages, but are we actually all at the table? And I think this is an issue that is not just this event, this is one of our major issues. Do we have the stay-at-home moms, the people that live paycheck to paycheck? Do we have the people that are more affected by changes in our society and our climate? To me, it's really important to have gatherings like this. The value is in the connections, the value is in the reconfirming that we're all neighbors with each other, hearing what other people have to say or what they think, and maybe not even realizing that that was an opinion that was out there. The value of gathering is the gathering itself.
Even if we don't all agree, at least we're talking about it. You know, something like 70% of the population is concerned about climate, and under 35% have had a single conversation in the last year. If everybody who was here today talks to one other person, that's a big deal.
Climate change impacts all of us, and we have to start having those difficult conversations and listen to each other and be open-minded to start coming up with ways that we can work together as a community.